Preciados amigos y amigas, que alegría que estemos todos juntos aquí en la Iglesia de Todos los Santos. Dear friends, what a joy it is for us to be here together at All Saints Church. Some of you are joining us online. Some of you are watching us on the lawn right now because this is our first day of coming back, beginning to come back to public in-person worship. My name is Mike Kinman. Mi nombre es Mike Kinman, soy Rector. I am the Rector. Mi pronombres son él. My pronouns are he, him. As has happened throughout this pandemic, our Sunday food table continued again today. And thanks to Erica and Bob and everyone who was out here this morning, giving away around 50 lunches from various sources and more than 150 masks. And again, thank you to Bob so much for continuing to provide us with these masks. Something that we began 15 months ago when we entered into pandemic mode, that I think we're just going to keep continuing because it has borne so much fruit, is this idea of having a partner in love. A partner in love is a nonprofit or an organization or a ministry effort that is not of All Saints Church. It is a partner out in the community who is doing wonderful work. And then we're saying, in addition to your generous support of All Saints Church, please give them some financial support, show them some love too. And we're observing Juneteenth this weekend, thrilled that President Biden has made it a federal holiday. And as we observe Juneteenth, our partner in love this morning is the Center for Racial Reconciliation at Fellowship Church in Monrovia. The center was established to lead the church and community in the conversation and practice of racial reconciliation. They actually used our racial justice resolution as one of their documents on which they kind of founded this center. Their aim is to create a gospel-centered environment that leads to active engagement in difficult conversations over a period of time that results in individual and systemic reconciliation. You can learn more about the center and give your support by clicking, just go to madeforfellowship.com. And you can get it to it from that site, but if you want to type more, it's just /Center for Racial Reconciliation, everything lowercase, madeforfellowship.com /Center for Racial Reconciliation. So this is a big Sunday at All Saints Church. We always think like every Sunday is a big Sunday. This is a really big Sunday. It is the beginning of our return to in-person worship. And we're going to spend some time this morning talking about this. And then showing you this. This forum's also going to be a little shorter. We're going to be wrapping it up around 10:35 because this is being streamed out on the lawn and into the church, and we need to wrap that up so some sound and video issues can be ready for the beginning of the 11:15 service. I want to start off by saying that for the last 15 months, we have been exclusively online for Sunday mornings, and we've learned a lot. And many of you have come into the orbit of All Saints Church for the first time during this time. Many of you who had moved away have reconnected with All Saints Church during this time. Some of you are joining this community each week from various places across the country and even around the world. Some of you are right here in LA and love being a part of All Saints Church online and are either not ready, not interested, or not able to come be here in person. And I want to start off by assuring you that all of our online presence is going to continue, and it's not only going to continue as we grow as a congregation, it's going to grow. So for the next 30 minutes or so, as we look at what coming back in person is going to look like, remember that this piece isn't going anywhere. And in fact, part of what we did in redesigning the website, and I hope you love the new website, is we looked at that really as a capital project, as a bricks and mortar project, because we know that our online presence is becoming every bit as important as our physical presence. So this forum is to kind of give you a window into how we've made decisions in the past, how we're making decisions right now, which is basically the same thing, and also to answer any questions that you might have about coming back together in person. You can start sending those to us now. The number for questions, it's the text number we've been using the whole pandemic, 910 text ASC. 910-839-8272. Again, that's 910, text ASC, or 910-839-8272. Want to start off, and we've got so thankful to have Sally Howard here with us. Sally is going to kind of walk us through a bunch of stuff here. Sally has been our point person for COVID at All Saints Church, has worked in partnership with Dr. Nicole Gatto, and we're going to hear from Dr. Gatto in a little bit, and has really been the person that we have relied on to help us figure out how do we do things as safely as possible. There's a couple different mantras that have developed that are guiding our return to in-person worship and other activities. The first, which you have probably already heard and will hear over and over again, is common sense risk reduction. And so, Sally, I'd like you, if you could jump in and first of all, sort of talk about, once again, those sort of three levels of scrutiny and discernment that we've had throughout this pandemic, and then really unpack for us what common sense risk reduction is.
I'd be happy to do that, and so great to be here with you all here, and some of you out in the lawn. And we really have been completely blessed to have Nicole Gatto, our resident epidemiologist, to be one of the levels of processing our policies and procedures. But it's really been a combination of looking at the protocols that are put down for us by Pasadena Public Health Department, the bishop's guidance, and again, Nicole Gatto to kind of help us synthesize that and look through all of the latest research to put together our procedures. And as we are emerging from this pandemic and able to be together safely again, we are following a policy called common sense risk reduction. And even though, we can safely, as declared by the state and the public health department, be together, we are taking things in incremental steps, and Mike will talk a little bit more about that, and so will Nicole, so that we are still managing the risk that is out there, particularly that we have some in our community who are not able to be vaccinated yet, including children under the age of 12 and some people with certain medical conditions. And so we are following common sense risk reduction in all that we do so that we can gather together again safely.
And I think one of the important things, and why I love that term, is we don't want to talk about making anything risk-free, because life isn't risk-free. You can be, like I can be sitting at home watching this, and I can, trip in my living room and hit my head, which I think I've probably done before. And so what we want to do is to recognize that everything in life has a certain amount of risk to it. And what we're looking for is a level of comfort and a level of risk that really is the same as anything else you would normally do in your life. And recognizing, as Sally said, that throughout this pandemic, we have been prioritizing those who are most vulnerable and care of those. And part of that right now is if you're 12 and under, you can't be vaccinated. There has not been a vaccine that has been approved for people 12 and under. And so we really want to make sure that both children and parents feel as safe as possible, bringing their kids to worship and having this be a part of their life. And so like a piece of what you're going to see as we walk around is that Kelly Aaron O'Phelan is going to be doing a children's chapel outdoors on the playground. And that's something that if you have kids that you can kind of come in with, and that'll be a part of it. And you also are going to notice that we are going to have kids around the altar, and everyone will be masked. But that's because of this process that Sally has talked about. Is the way this works is someone has an idea and says, hey, can we do this? Can we have kids around the altar? And first thing we do is we look at the public health things the governor has said. Then we look at what the bishop has said. And then we take it to Sally and Nicole. And they can either say, yes, we're ready, or no, we're not ready to do this. And then also to say, okay, this is how we do this, to using common sense methods, have an acceptable level of risk. Again, a kid can still sort of bump their head on the altar. This doesn't prevent that from happening. That could have happened before COVID. We don't want to be ruled by fear. We don't want to be ruled by reactivity. We're not going to be walking down the aisle in hazmat suits. What we are going to be doing is learning how to live into this new reality together. Sally, anything more you'd want to add to that?
No, I think that says it pretty well, Mike. A little later today, we'll talk about some of the things we're also doing to help people, who might feel anxious to come back to campus. Or, some
Why
people.
don't you talk about that now? Why don't you jump in and talk about that now?
I'll do that. We realize that there's a real continuum of comfort that people have coming back to campus. Some people feel just ready to go. Some people feel, more hesitant. And, for some of us, coming back to campus, maybe even, leaving your house feels, pretty anxiety producing, because we've lived through something that is, frightening and traumatic. And so we are putting together a group of offerings to help people come back wherever you are in your level of comfort. It's part of our All Saints way. We do that wherever you are. We try to meet you on your journey. And so, starting in the first week of July, after July 4th, we will be doing things like buddy get out the door offerings, we're calling them, where we might do a phone call or a video time with people who are really feeling anxious just about leaving their house in general. And we will also have some people, some volunteers who, if you're comfortable having somebody, just one person sitting with one person, might be able to go to a public setting or your front yard or backyard, so that you can just try that out with one person at a time. We will also be offering evening prayer on Wednesdays. Alfredo Peregrino is going to offer a meditative service on Wednesday evenings. And we're also going to do talking circles on the lawn, and we'll be following a curriculum from the National Church called For Many One Questions, and just getting introduced to being back, together. It's such a weird thing, this pandemic that we've gone through, where we've really patterned our brains for this whole year or longer to be, to be safe and to be at a distance. So it's a big thing to come back together. So those talking circles will be available. The church will be open sometimes for prayer and meditation. And we are also going to offer, tech support instruction for people who might, I might sign up for that one, but tech support for people who feel like they're having some trouble accessing things. And we have things we already do, like drum circles on Saturday, and noonday prayer on Wednesday, and Monday night meditation and centering prayer on Tuesday. And those are currently meditation and centering prayer are online. They may be coming back to church, but anyway, wherever you are, we want to support you into feeling comfortable again, being together.
So on that, Sandy just put a question in the chat. I wonder when the ASC LGBTQ plus small group may resume in person. And that's sort of true for sort of any small group. So where are we in terms of small groups resuming in person?
Well, I think we are safe and good to go with that. And, through, again, July 4th, we are going to be masked. And after that, that will change. But I think part of it is just getting those groups started again, and leaders getting comfortable and being able to come back. But we are clear to have small group gatherings.
Right. And I love the plans that that we're making to bring people back. And one of the things I found, I was in a small group gathering yesterday outdoors of All Saints folks, and we were going to meet for about an hour. It took us an hour to get through introductions. And it's because we each had this need to just kind of share and that wasn't even the prompt. It was just sort of say, oh, hey, say a little bit about yourself. Let's go around the circle. It took a whole hour and there were 12 people. And it's because, and no one was just sort of like, oh my gosh, I wish they would be quiet and move on. And we like owned at the end of it. It had been an hour, and all we'd done is introduced ourselves, because that's what we need. We actually need space to share what is going on. And that all this kind of leads into another mantra that I've started to use, which is just because we can doesn't mean we have to. And this gets into our values, not just of radical inclusion, but of courageous justice and joyful spirituality, and ethical stewardship. And it's all the stuff, Sally, you were just talking about. This pandemic has been incredibly challenging for all of us. For the staff, and for so many others who are responsible for keeping the worship and program life of this church going, it's been adjustments on nearly a weekly basis and learning whole new ways of doing things while dealing with the stress, anxiety, and grief from loss that every one of us has been feeling. And so I would encourage not just us to do this as a community, but all of us to do this in our individual lives. Be realistic about our capacity to do more right now. And consider what it means to do things at a prayerful pace, giving ourselves space to breathe and space to process and space to grieve and space to celebrate. So we realize we need to be realistic about our capacity to do more right now as a staff, especially because people are going to be taking some much needed vacations this summer. And we all know that this fall is going to be this time of incredibly creative possibility. We also know that together we have been through and are still going through this tremendous ordeal. And so we're going to need time to share our stories. This is the kind of stuff we've talked about and that Sally's talked about, to come together, to grieve, to speak new truths to each other, and to dream of the future to which God is calling us. There is going to be a temptation to jump back into the frenetic activity that has sometimes characterized our life here at All Saints Church. And we're really going to try to resist that temptation and instead take things a little more slowly. There may be pieces of it that kind of make you a little impatient, and that's only natural. And I hope we can support each other in just taking a little time to breathe. We are going to get there together. We have a wonderful new future that is born out of an amazing past that we treasure. And we're going to get there together. I'm reminded of a proverb my Rwandan friend, Nicholas Hitamana, shared with me. And that's, if you want to travel quickly, travel alone. If you want to travel far, travel together. And we're going to travel together. And that will mean taking a more measured pace. So just a quick review of what's happening this morning. We are limiting inside the church to 300 people. Again, that is as much about gauging our comfort level with returning to a crowd indoors as anything else. We have wonderful seating in the church and on the lawn. We even have a potential for people being in Sweetland Hall, where they can sort of watch things on their phones if they can't get into the church and they want to be in an indoor space. Everyone is going to be wearing a mask. We're going to have some wristbands, red, yellow, and green, that will help determine, help you communicate what is the level of touch that you're comfortable with. Red is no. She's got hers on. Sally has hers on. I still have to get mine. Yellow is ask me, and green is hug away. And as Sally said, through all this, we've been assisted by Dr. Nicole Gatto, who's worked with Sally on the protocols. And Nicole wishes she could be here in person. And Sally, do you want to introduce the video message, though, that we have?
I sure do. And, first I'd like to say just a little bit about Nicole Gatto. We are just so blessed to have her as part of our community, and to have all of her expertise and energy and time during the pandemic. She is currently an associate professor in the School of Community and Global Health at Claremont Graduate University, and also serves as the director of the PhD program in Health Promotion Sciences. She has countless contributions that she has made. She is a two-time Fulbright Scholar, and will actually be leaving us in August to do the second one in Iceland. She is also a native Angelino, and founded the Green Belt Movement, founded the Green Belt Movement in Kenya, and with Alice Waters to create the Edible Schoolyard in Berkeley, and has also done the Milagro Allegro Community Garden in Los Angeles. So Nicole, I hope you're listening. I think you are, and thank you again. And now let's see the video that you've made for us.
Okay, Stu, roll tape.
Good morning, All Saints. My name is Nicole Gatto. My husband, Mark Moreno, and I have been members of All Saints for 8 years. I was initially part of the action table and rapid response team, and more recently have served as a lay visitation minister, providing an Episcopal service at Windsor Manor in Glendale. I'm an epidemiologist by training, and during the pandemic have been advising All Saints on policies and procedures related to COVID-19 prevention. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person today, but I'm available for questions and will share my contact information towards the end of our time together. What I'd like to do in the next 10 minutes or so is talk a little bit about the past, present, and future as we continue to navigate what the COVID-19 pandemic means for our parish. First off, I want to thank you for your patience and cooperation over these past many months while we've been away from the sanctuary. During this time, we've used public health guidance as well as our All Saints values to steer our decisions with the goal of minimizing risk to our employees, volunteers, and parishioners. We're going to continue to use science and our faith to guide us as we return to in-person worship. We are grateful to the 700 parishioners who participated in the recent parish survey. We heard from you that the vast majority, almost 90%, are interested in returning to in-person worship. I know for Mark and myself that being away from our community at All Saints has been one of the most difficult aspects of the pandemic, and we are very much looking forward to being back. While churches in Los Angeles County and the city of Pasadena have been able to resume in-person services for some time, but with capacity restrictions, at All Saints, we made the decision to wait until we could welcome everyone back. And this is because of our value of radical inclusion. As you echoed in the survey, serving the needs of the vulnerable matters. While we're eager to get together, we also have a desire to not rush the process. So we have a plan for our return to take place in 2 stages, and I will explain next more why. So let's start with the present, this first stage of our return. And so to be clear, we're talking about this Sunday and the next 2 Sundays. There are a few important things I'd like you to know and a few things that we'll be asking of you. Think of these as common sense risk reduction practices. As we worship in person for the next 3 Sundays, we'd like everyone to continue to wear masks. Why? The sanctuary is open to all, and there will be some among us who are not vaccinated. There is still a risk to those not vaccinated, and this includes children under the age of 12. Also, as Mike noted in his email, for many of us, we are rebuilding a comfort level with being indoors and in large groups of people, which has also motivated in part this decision. We'd also like you to continue to be vigilant with hand washing, with covering your cough and sneeze, and with staying home when you're sick. So let's talk next about the future. As many of you know, President Biden has set a July 4th goal for 70% of Americans to be vaccinated against COVID. California has done very well, and on June 15th, Governor Newsom gave the green light to reopen. This is because cases of COVID-19 are significantly down and vaccinations are up. The Los Angeles County Department of Public Health and the City of Pasadena Public Health Department have given us 3 options. Either require masks of everyone, require proof of vaccination, or use an honor system. For the second stage of our return to occur in 3 weeks, so we're talking about starting Sunday, July 11th, we'd like to be able to move to the honor system. This would mean that you could come to worship without a mask if you are fully vaccinated, and of course, if you are comfortable not wearing a mask. If you are not fully vaccinated, you should still continue to wear a mask when coming to worship. This is because even though the risk of COVID-19 in the population is low, if you are unvaccinated, you are vulnerable to infection and to passing the virus to other persons who are also not vaccinated. Our recommendations for washing hands, covering cough and sneeze, and staying home when sick won't change. So if you're not already vaccinated, I urge you to do so in the next 3 weeks. And this is what I'd like to talk about for the rest of our time together this morning before we wrap up. Some of this information you probably already know, but please share it with others who may not. So why get vaccinated? Well, first, vaccination will protect you as an individual. Second, your getting vaccinated will protect others. And we are a people who act with others in mind. The vaccines that are available for COVID in the United States are very effective. This means that if you are vaccinated, you are extremely unlikely to get severe disease. We're talking about disease that will land you in the hospital, potentially requiring oxygen to breathe. We're also learning that the vaccines are very good at preventing us from giving the virus to other people if we're exposed. The vaccines that are available are also very safe. So while it's true that the process to make the vaccines that have become available during this emergency situation was expedited, the science that made their development possible has been in the works for decades. I know that some people were hesitant to get vaccinated because they wanted to wait and see. We now have data from over 375 million doses which have been administered in the United States. We also have a system to track potential side effects that could be linked to vaccination. So far, serious side effects from vaccination are extremely rare. For example, out of those 375 million doses, 36 cases of brain blood clots have been counted. And to put this in perspective, your chances are better to win $1 million lottery jackpot than to experience this adverse event. It's also important to keep in mind that if you were to get COVID, there is a risk of developing a brain blood clot from the disease itself. And this risk is 8 to 10 times higher than in persons who don't get COVID, which you can prevent by getting vaccinated. So speaking about the lottery, California is offering some pretty nice incentives in their new program called Vax for the Win, including dream vacations to Palm Springs, Lakers tickets, and cash prizes. I read about this on the covid19.ca.gov website. Some people have also expressed concern about allergies. Severe allergic reactions requiring treatment with epinephrine are also extremely rare and have occurred in approximately 2 to 5 people per million persons vaccinated. If you have allergies to pets, pollen, latex, penicillin, eggs, or nuts, for example, you can still safely get vaccinated against COVID. If you have allergies to other vaccines, you may wish to speak with your doctor. What people are allergic to in COVID vaccines are one of 2 stabilizing ingredients, which are actually quite widely used as additives in cosmetics, medications, toothpastes, and many foods like salad dressings, soups, and ice cream. If you have this allergy, you likely already know and can use this information to make a decision about vaccination. Currently, all persons aged 12 and older are eligible to be vaccinated against COVID at no cost. This includes pregnant women, persons who are immune compromised, and persons with underlying medical conditions, all who may be at greater risk of developing severe COVID. So if you're pregnant, have a weakened immune system, or an autoimmune condition, it's true that there is limited safety data currently available for COVID-19 vaccination, and you may wish to speak with your medical doctor to make a decision about vaccination. This is probably going to be a decision about the benefits, which are likely going to outweigh the risks of getting vaccinated. So how can you get vaccinated? If you go to myturn.ca.gov, there's more information there about appointments and vaccination sites. So thank you for your time this morning. I'm including my contact information below. We can now open up the forum to questions, and I sincerely look forward to seeing you in the sanctuary very soon. Thank you.
Okay, Stu, can you switch to me? There we are. Okay, so thank you to Dr. Gatto. I have my mask on because we have just about 5 minutes left. And what we're going to do is actually kind of take a little walk around. Some questions have come in. Mary Bush asks, the Racial Justice Ministry is hoping we'll be able to figure out a way to meet in person for monthly programs and at the same time be able to provide our larger programs on Zoom. I wonder if other groups have been discussing this as a possibility. I think we're all going to be discussing possibilities like this of how do we create hybrid models that allow both online and in person, because first of all, we all know what LA traffic is like. And also we have this amazing community that now reaches around the whole planet. So that's what we're looking at. And we want to just take a few moments. We don't have a lot of time. And just sort of walk around. Let's see if I can do that. Hey, there we are. And there is Sally Howard. Hello. And people are starting to gather outside and just give a sense of what is happening here. And here is Marilyn Kaufman working the desk as usual. It's good to see you. Hello, you're on the Rector's Forum. Here is Stu Rosen producing the Rector's Forum from the office. It's beautiful what we have going on. And then out here, you're gonna see, oh, here we are. Oh, this is not gonna work. Hold on, I'm gonna turn my mic off so we don't get feedback. Hold on. I'm gonna see if I can talk. No, it's not gonna work. See if I can talk briefly and quietly enough. And I think we can do that. Here is the welcome table. There's Sharon and Walter. These are the bracelets that help you designate what kind of contact you're comfortable with. Folks are already gathering. And I'm gonna move us. I'll take a green one, thanks. So, hey China, give you a hug. See you. There's Terry and Marshall. We're gonna go inside the church and hopefully we won't have as much feedback. Hey Kathy. I can't
tell, but I'm smiling.
Good to see everybody. Let's see what we can do in here. Whoop, whoop, that's locked. We're gonna move around. And so part of what this is discovering that there are technical issues that we will not discover until we find out by doing. And so that's what we're doing right now. You can see we have outdoor seating on the lawn. We have extra chairs available also for that. There is Melissa Hayes, who has been incredible throughout this whole pandemic, putting all this liturgy together. And there's Terry and Jim. Whoops, and I'm getting more feedback, so I'm going to back away. Good to see you all. Here are some of the signs that we have telling people, please don't enter if you have COVID symptoms. Good to see you. Masks required at all times. Please enter only through the north entrance. Indoor and outdoor seating. And expectation is you're going to be vaccinated if you're entering the church. There is Dan McCarroll finally getting to greet in person.
So nice to have you.
And then there's Susan Russell. And we have, oh, here we are. I think we can do this. Here is the church. As you can see, we have every other pew that is roped off. So we can have some distancing. And again, this is so we can gradually get used to being together in this space. As Dr. Gatto talked about, we're all going to be masked for the next 3 Sundays. After that, we are going to be operating on the honor system And we will ask everyone who is not yet vaccinated to be masked, and everyone else can go without a mask. We'll be receiving communion right up here, standing, bread only right now. That's the diocesan protocol. And as you can see, we have gluten-free already at the waiting. So it is about 10:35, and I promised Keith that I would be done at 10:35. So I'm going to sign off. We'll see you either online or here in person at 11:15. See you then. Love you all.